Hey guys, I just want to talk to you a little bit today about the pressure that exists on a late 30s person who's dating. And I just wanted to express my opinions on the fact of the matter being that there can be a lot of pressure placed upon you when you're in this age bracket of life. And I just wanted to communicate this as a little bit of like a caution, just something to keep in the back of your mind as you go out there and continue to date. And maybe if you are looking to settle down, I get the whole clock is ticking, especially for women if they're looking to have children. But I think for men as well, there's certainly a lot of pressure. And I always reflect back and think about the volume of pressure that exists from your peer group and from your parents and from everybody, your friends, everybody all around you, society especially, right? There's like this, I do believe there's this unspoken pressure on you that it's like, why haven't you settled down yet? Why haven't you had kids? Why don't you have a family? Why aren't you married? Why aren't you on and on and on? And I'm sure if you're single and 30 some odd or you could be at another point in life certainly as well and feel these same sorts of pressures. But I just wanted to talk about that a little bit today. And like I said, just share my observations and share my caution for you based on what I've seen. I think in general, any time in life where we are doing something under duress or under pressure, we tend to make bad decisions. And I've seen this time and time and time again. I've seen so many friends and people that are close to me that I think kind of buckled to the pressures that all of what I just described. And they've kind of rushed into situations and they've settled down with the wrong people. And the sad thing is you watch the back end of that whole story play out, and a lot of times it's not so pretty and it's not so nice, and certainly it can't be a fun phase of these people's lives to go through. So I'm just a big contender of still just trying to take your time to some extent and make a good decision, make a right decision. Don't just rush in because you're at a certain age point and everybody all around you is like, why aren't you doing this? Why haven't you done this yet? What's wrong with you, kind of thing. That's certainly I think that's the rhetoric and that's the underlying message that a lot of us are feeling, is that yes, there's something wrong with you if you haven't had this story play out quite yet in your life. And I just want to remind you, you have to learn to tune that stuff out. You have to be strong-willed and hold out for the things that you want, I believe. And I'm not saying that there's going to be a perfect person out there, and I'm not saying you should wait your whole life for some unicorn that doesn't exist. I do think you should be analytical and realistic, and every person that sails through your life is going to have good and bad about them. Some things you're going to have to accept, along with the things you really like about them theoretically. But I just repeatedly come back to this whole notion of pressure, and I've just seen this. I continue to see this to the present day. Like every time you tell your friends some little tidbit about your dating life, they get all hot and bothered, and they're expecting you to stomp the foot on the gas pedal, because once again, I think it comes of that whole like, what's wrong with you? You're at this stage in life where you should be doing X, Y, and Z, and it's hard to, I think, to stand up to those pressures sometimes. So, if it occurs long enough upon your mind, I think a lot of people do buckle, and therein lies the situation as I described before, just people getting into bad relationships or the wrong relationships and creating a whole other mess of problems for themselves. And the last thing that I wanted to communicate, and I don't know if this is a mindset or a mentality that everybody should have. I think there's a lot to be said for, just going through life on your own and doing your own thing has its own drawbacks. But at the same time, I'm of the mindset that I would rather go my whole life and never get married and settle down and do that whole thing. Like, I would rather, have that story and not do this stuff versus end up with the wrong person and have a nasty couple decades of a life where bad things happen. I've seen this so many times with especially people that I work with. I'm in an industry that has a high divorce rate, and I've heard just so many stories about people having everything taken from them, and it's really sad to see these like hollowed out souls, as I put them. I see I see the toll that this sort of life story has on people. And as I said, it's arrived me at this conclusion that I would rather just go through my whole life completely single, on my own, doing my own thing, than venture to go down that track and have that sort of life story. And I know there's a lot to be said. Like, nobody gets married with the intention of those things happen, or assuming those things are going to happen. I get that. There's certainly some level of uncertainty, no matter how much you trust your partner and how much you put your faith in them to never do you wrong like that. I get that whole thing, but I just hope that message right there sinks in and makes a lot of sense to what I said like earlier in the talk here, where I'm just talking about, like, you need to continue to be analytical. You need to continue to use your head and not overlook certain things because you feel all this pressure from the outside of these people that aren't living your life, mind you, right? They're not you, okay? Society is not you. Your parents are not you. Your friends are not you. You're you. You got to deal with everything, all the consequences of your actions, the good ones and the bad ones. And I think a lot of you know what I'm talking about. You know when you're in the midst of somebody who's bad or wrong for you, and you overlook these things and you continue to involve yourself with them, and it probably doesn't end up good for you. And I doubt, if you're being honest with yourself, I doubt you would say that these situations are fun for you. And I think you should try to avoid them. And I think that's part of going through life and learning to date more effectively and just be more selective, let's say, or just be smart about it. I think that's a big key. And I just wanted to let you guys know, I know how hard that is to hold back that dam of pressure, as it feels sometimes, from all these outside sources trying to influence you with what you're doing with your dating. So, all right, guys, I hope you're having a wonderful day. We'll talk again real soon.